All right, well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us here today. I'm Mayor Lamar Hernandez-Thorpe, and obviously we're here for a very a special introduction to the community, and that's the introduction of our new permanent city manager. Last, frankly, 2 years have been challenging for every single department in our city. This has impacted every level of government here. While the initial FBI investigations resulted in police staffing shortages that we're still contending with today, I want to assure Antioch residents, city employees, and partners of city's leadership has and remains focused and united on the top priority of increasing our overall quality of life and ensuring public safety. Antioch's government has been and continues to be open for business and working for the people of Antioch. In my early days as mayor, I was shocked to learn about 2 in-custody deaths and what happened, and what appeared to me to be low morale among our staff. As a result of those deaths, we launched the city's largest and most comprehensive police reform efforts in Antioch's history. From body cameras to independent oversight commission, we worked hard to improve our police department by increasing accountability and by increasing transparency. I was shocked to learn that at every step of the way, we were fought internally and externally. Every day, some of us were bombarded with disgusting and racially motivated attacks that persist to this very day. Here's one of them from literally last night from a resident named Matthew Pritchett. I gotta say, I moved to Antioch in 1990 and it was a majority white city. We didn't have any of these problems. People need to stand up. All those minorities are running amok. It needs to stop. But everyone wants to act as if they don't do no wrong. Come on, man, let's be real. Hashtag accountability from top to bottom. In my second year as the mayor, these same kinds of people were burning the midnight oil to try to undo the will of the voters by trying to recall me. Luckily, Antioch residents, whether white, black, Asian, Latino, LGBTQ+, and more who make up our diverse community, said no thank you. Interestingly enough, I never truly understood the vitriol against me and others until I was hauled into the DA's office to learn about the FBI investigation of several officers within our department. The FBI investigation uncovered criminal behavior and racism within our department, which we have worked to remove. This dramatically reduced our staffing levels, put the city at the brink of bankruptcy, and jeopardized every resident's public safety. As we learned about systemic management failures at the highest levels of the city manager's office, I cannot help but be reminded of the most glaring failure. That the former chief and city manager never bothered to evaluate our officers for God knows how many years. This could have been easily prevented if the city manager simply had done their job. Never again, as I entered the city manager search process, I kept repeating to myself, never again could we put the city in the hands of folks who couldn't carry out simple tasks or who were so entrenched with the status quo that the idea of Antioch is a place for a few and not for everybody to enjoy. This is why finding a like-minded partner as part of our administration was so important. We do not have to always agree. We don't have to always agree. But we absolutely have to be on the same page and the same accord on the idea that Antioch's government will work to represent every single segment of our community. And so we launched an extensive process to find the right city manager to carry out the reforms we have to continue to help unite our city, to help unite our departments and work cohesively for the greater good. And it was a comprehensive process. In Antioch, homelessness, public safety, housing, and police accountability are 4 key priorities for this council. And I believe and I know that Ms. Scott's background are the right qualifications, and she's overly qualified, in my opinion, to serve in this position.
The process began with selecting a recruiting firm through a request for qualifications process. Through the process, we hired GovHR MGT to conduct the recruitment process and conduct a nationwide search. As part of the process, a community survey was prepared and managed by our recruiter. Several candidates expressed interest in the position, and after After review of the several candidates that had applied for the position, we reviewed the qualifications, and a few of the candidates were then invited to the next step, which that involved an interview with the city council. And also the department directors were also part of the process and were given the opportunity to meet with the candidates and also provide feedback to city council. After further review, a candidate was selected to proceed in the background process. Now, the background process was a very extensive process. And we hired a third-party company to conduct the background, and Ms. Bessie Scott was selected, and she was the one that was part of the entire process. When I said, with the several candidates, we received 15 applications, and that included candidates from different states. And all of them were qualified. However, we had to narrow down the number. So once we narrowed down the number, we had to select the most qualified. Once we selected the most qualified, then that's how we ended up narrowing it down to selecting Ms. Scott.
I am honored to have been chosen, and I'm looking forward to working for and with the community of Antioch. I've been an advocate all my life, and I recently got into public service in the last decade of my career when I noticed poor health outcomes in certain zip codes across the nation while conducting a nationwide study for the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality under the federal government. That work led me to a long career in housing, homelessness, and poverty prevention. I was surprised to learn in graduate school that just as doctors take the Hippocratic Oath, public administrators also take an oath through the American Society for Public Administration, which includes such promises as making sustainable public policy, and my favorite, that as a public administrator, we must advance the public interest, which includes that we are to promote the interests of the public and put service to the public above service to oneself. To that end, I am truly honored to fulfill the role of city manager for the city of Antioch in order to promote the interests of the community and assist in bringing opportunities to all residents. I did a lot of research and spent a lot of time here quietly observing the city, riding up and down streets. I ate at lots of restaurants as a sacrifice, for field research, and getting to know people who live here. I just asked questions and people answered. The recent events in this city around gun violence have been front page news and has negatively impacted everyone. There is no othering and belonging when it comes to gun violence. So whether this is occurring in District 1 or District 3, these adverse events diminish us all. The concerns I heard from community members included issues around public safety, caring for our unhoused community members with more compassion, addressing blight, supporting our local businesses, and investing more heavily in youth programming and services. I hear you, I see you. After hearing these concerns across every demographic and intersectionality in this community, my first 100-day plan is to work with the mayor, the city council, the residents, and interim chief Addington to address key staffing vacancies, issues of public safety and policing, including the hiring of a permanent police chief. I will focus on working to fill other key vacant positions at the city of Antioch and hope to work with all city teams and staff to complete a rapid inventory of staffing needs to address culture, resources needed, and workplace morale. I was so impressed with the individual contributors and teams across this city. During my hiring process, I was met by staff with smiles and encouragement, even in the face of some difficult issues being faced here, and the ownership and pride I saw is what made me want to work here. 2, addressing the issue of homelessness is front and center in my priority plan, as well as completing a homelessness investments analysis that is human-centered and person-centered, which will help us see how large the crisis is and what opportunities there are to address the issues in a compassionate way across the city. The last area, and certainly no less important or impactful, is assessing opportunities for increased youth services, youth development, and youth workforce and education initiatives. The youth of Antioch are pretty cool. I had the pleasure of hanging out with a few of them on 2 of my visits here because I kept sneaking into the city. They remind me of the magic of childhood and of my own 11-year-old son, who you'll meet. He's kind of annoying, but he'll run around here and say hi to everyone. And we must invest in them heavily. Empowering youth is so important and crucial for sustainable development in the city, as young people here represent a significant demographic force. I heard parents say they moved to Antioch because they wanted a safe community for their families. We must remember that our young people embody the innovation, resilience, and energy, so much energy, necessary to face and tackle the challenges we face. We have to shore them up for these challenges. We owe them that, and we will. Now, I know that there are many other areas to address, and I'll get to those as well with your help, I promise. So I ask you all for grace and for time to really assess the root cause of some of the problems, and to also celebrate the small wins that I've seen here even in my short time, and that we will continue to have. As I work with you all, I hope that you will join me in finding solutions, working across differences, continuing to have open discussions and dialogue, and keep showing up for key meetings where we need all voices here in Antioch and elsewhere. So if there are meetings across the county, outside of the city, we have to show up, even if that's by busloads. We need the resources regionally for this area. So let's be self-interested and get out there and show up. Lastly, I want to acknowledge those that came before me in this role. It's a big one. I would be remiss not to give my regards and my respect to Acting City Manager Kwame Reed, who has carried out this role for the last year. I have been an interim executive director and an acting executive director, and there is something to holding space for that in-between time and in the meantime, as I call it. So thanks, and ever thanks. I am more of a best supporting actress, so you'll see me kind of quietly working around this city, quietly in the corner doing the work. And I lead press conferences to all of you and to the mayor and council. Please email me, please come see me, please stop by, and feel free to reach out to me as we move forward. Now, I know this is more boring than some of my past social media posts, but this is the actual work, so we won't weaponize issues of race and social justice that happened 6 or 7 years in this space. What I came to do is the work, and that's what I'm gonna do. So you're gonna be with me, and we're gonna go forward together. So onward. Thanks so much.
We'll invite a few questions, and then we'll wrap it up. Kron, yes.
What's the length of her contract, and was her appointment unanimous among the council?
The length of the contract is 2 years. 2 years, and it was a 3-2 vote.
Is there a way in the upcoming election that it's possible that she could be removed after she's hired, or is this going to be for 2 years, guaranteed no matter what happens in November?
That reality exists every single day.
This position, you obviously Mr. Reed held it for the last year, but how many city managers have you been through since the last permanent one left?
We've had 2 acting city managers.
And how has the city managed, and how do you think it will do having a permanent leader now, considering there are several department head positions that need to be filled as well?
Yeah, while there's several department head positions that are being filled, and then we've had 2 acting since the last permanent. I just have to remind everybody that we continue to deliver key services on behalf of residents. If you turn on your faucet, water comes out. And that's one of our primary responsibilities. If you call 911, the police will show up. We've reduced calls for service, particularly since we had the initial downfall from staff. And not only that, in addition to providing the key services that we do on an ongoing basis, we also, breaking news, created an entire new department called the Department of Public Safety and Community Resources, where we're delivering homeless services, mental health services, and a host of other services that are now key and critical, not only for the residents that they're serving, but like the community crisis response team is key to the police department's work, because it offloads some of the work that they would be responding to. So we've been, even with the turnover in staff, we have been delivering services on behalf of the people, contrary to noisemakers out in the world of social media.
Was there any thought or to holding this decision until after the election?
I was elected in 2020 to serve up until 2024, and this is part of my job.